Welcome, everybody, to the latest live edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Guardians Show. As you can see, I have an empty box next to me with Zach Meisel. He will be joining me shortly. He's wrapping things up. He is at Progressive Field, where the Guardians lose in heartbreaking fashion by a final score of 3-0. There is so much to recap from the game. Thanks to all of you who watched the bullpen earlier. But now we'll bring Zach in, like I said, in just a minute or two. He's going to join us. We've had a chance to kind of maybe calm down now that the game's been over for, close to 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes, whatever it is. And we'll also get some thoughts from the locker room. There are a lot of second guesses after the game, some that I thought personally were ridiculous, like taking out Clase before the home run, for walking Carpenter. I think those were ridiculous second guesses. Some people did bring up, how about running with Quan when you hit into the double play against Skubal in the sixth? Why didn't they have him on the move? I think that's fair. As I admitted on my earlier podcast, I hadn't really thought about that before it happened, before they ended up hitting into the double play. But I think that's a reasonable thing you could bring up. The other two to me are crazy second guesses that if somebody said it to you before the game and they gave you the situation, you would want Clase in there. The only lefty available was Sobrowski. We're going to go to Eli Morgan. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Obviously, Clase was not on point today, and that's unfortunate, and it's heartbreaking because you felt like you survived Skubal's dominance and had a chance to win, and your most reliable guy, your most reliable pitcher. I mean, the guy's got the best ERA with a minimum. I can't remember the minimum amount of innings. Let's say it's 250. I don't remember exactly, but at this point in his career, Emmanuel Clase has the best ERA in the history of baseball with a minimum of 250. I can't remember the minimum innings, wherever he's probably just over. And, in fact, I can look up how many innings he's thrown in the big leagues. Let's see. Emmanuel Clase. So far for the season, for his career, has pitched 312 major league innings. So I think it was 250. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was 250. And he's got the best ERA ever. I'm going to trust that guy, even when he's not at his best, more than Sobrowski, more than Morgan, more than anybody else. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And kudos to Carpenter. He couldn't even believe what he did after it. Now, obviously, he stood there at first. He flipped the bat, and he knew he hit the home run. But as he's going around first, you see the look in his face like, oh, my God, did I just actually do that? And that's it. And now the Guardians got to bear down. Things don't come easy for anybody in Cleveland. And things don't come easy in baseball. Doesn't always go exactly the way you want it to go. And if ultimately the Guardians lose the series, sure, we'll look back to that inning and think about what could have been. And on the other hand, if the Guardians bounce back and win this series, then we forget about it to some degree. And I think we will, because if they do bounce back and win this series, which I believe they will, Emmanuel Clase is going to be a big part of it. And I'll tell you something else. If it's the ninth inning and there's 2 on and 2 out and Kerry Carpenter is at the plate, I'm pitching to him again if I'm Emmanuel Clase, and I'm striking his ass out. It's that simple. But I'll be curious to hear from Zach about what the vibe was. Obviously, they're down. They're going to, I don't know, do they fly to Detroit? I would think they drive. I know Zach's driving tomorrow morning. Let's get some early comments. React Asylum. Hey, isn't that the guy I DoorDash sour cream and cheddar chips to? That's a good job out of you. That's a great recall. Like in comedy, when stand-up comedians, they call it a callback, right? Just to a joke from earlier. React Asylum went my Bet Rivers pod callback from a comment I made earlier and brought it up now. Zach Meisel is ready at Progressive Field. We're going to go to him in 30 seconds. Real quick, I'm going to read a couple more of these. Aryan Paraka. I've worked for this team for 2 years. Yes, Detroit will be electric. No, it won't matter because this team is so tight-knit. They're going to stick together and fight, and it won't be the last time home. Tori, Browns suck again. Okay, that's true. Nikki, it's a save situation, tie game late in game 3. Vote has to have no hesitation sending out Clase again. 100% Nikki, and he will have no hesitation. None, zero, zip, zilch. There will be no hesitation to put Clase in again. Andrew says, damn, I missed the game. What happened? And React Asylum says, 99 times out of 100, Clase has that situation locked down. Snapple says, Austin Hedges will be big to keep the morale high. And there you go. Let's bring in Zach. Game in 1, he's back again. There he is. Zach, what's going on?
What's up, Bull? Can you hear me okay?
I don't need to wear headphones. I forgot on this show I don't need to wear the headphones. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, there we go. I kicked out your other entry. So there you go. I can hear you. Can you hear yourself? Can you hear me?
Everything's good. All right. What an operation we have.
Yeah, we do. Obviously, everybody's going nuts right now. You know, I did an immediate post game when the thing ended. And obviously, listen, this was a heartbreaker. There's no other way around it. You survived 7 innings from Skubal and his greatness, and you thought you had it because you had the edge in the bullpen. I want to talk about 3 second guesses that I'm hearing from fans. 2 that I think are patently absurd. I don't want to know if I'm assuming you'll agree with me that they're absurd, but I'm curious. The third one was something that I did not first guess, so I certainly wouldn't criticize vote for, but I think at least it's reasonable. Let's start with the 2 absurd ones that I'm getting, and I'll mention them together. I'm sure you've seen them too if you've paid any attention to social media, but maybe you don't. So probably not. Okay. The 2 absurd ones are A, they should have walked Kerry Carpenter in that situation. And B, this one's even beyond insane. They should have pulled Clase before Kerry Carpenter's at bat.
Okay.
All right. I've actually seen these things.
How much time do you want to spend on these?
Spend whatever time you want.
First of all, who are you pulling him for? Eli Morgan?
That's what I said. Or
Sabrowski, Eli Morgan gives up something, and then
oh my God,
and you're gonna run vote out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not an option. It's not like he was at 40 pitches.
No.
And he got beat. I mean, I don't. He said he didn't have great command. Like that happens. It's not because he had to come in the 8th and get an out in the 8th and then come back out in the 9th. He's done that before. Cade Smith did it twice in this game. So yeah, there are little things you can nitpick or make excuses for. He just hung a slider and it got crushed. Yeah. That's the bottom line here. What was the first one?
He should have walked Carpenter.
So he said he didn't have his great command. And if you walk Carpenter, you can't walk the next guy.
That's exactly what I said.
Or else what? And also, I mean, the big thing here, don't give up hits to 8 and 9. Don't let those guys get on base. Jake Rogers, Trey Sweeney, like those aren't guys that you should be getting beat by.
No.
And then you never have to face Carpenter with 2 guys on in the 9th anyway. So
and the fans, because of what he did, and kudos to Carpenter. Sometimes you got to tip your cap. But the way people are talking about Carpenter, he's a good hitter. I know he's excellent against righties. But, I mean, the way he's being talked about now, you'd think they were facing Mike Trout or Barry Bonds here. I mean, let's not get carried away. He's a very good hitter against righties. But he still hit 18 home runs this year. He didn't hit 40 or 50. He's not Shohei Ohtani. Let's not go overboard.
It was a bad pitch.
Yeah.
From a guy who rarely makes a bad pitch.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it's one of those, like, I don't want to say like, oh, those losses happen and everything's fine. And no, I mean, like you Skubal's out of that game and you're tied.
Yep.
It is a humongous victory.
Yeah.
A huge advantage. And you have to capitalize, and they didn't. But, like, you know, Clase could have gotten that out, and then they go to extra innings, and Eli Morgan comes in, or whoever else comes in, and they lose, and it's like, you know, there's not a ton to dissect if that happens.
No, that's true. It's a totally different. Now, here's the 1 second guess that, again, I have admitted that I wasn't just thinking about this before it happened, so I'm not going to rip vote. But I thought this was not unreasonable, and I'm wondering if, yes, about this. when David Fry hits into the double play against Skubal in the 6th to get out of that jam. Why not have Kwon on the run there?
I don't know.
Yeah,
that's not.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not one I thought of either. I don't know. Yeah. That's getting into the nitty gritty where like you'd need to know. You. I guess the hope is Fry hits a fly ball.
Yeah.
You take the lead.
Yeah.
Right. So, if Kwon gets thrown out, it removes the sacrifice fly opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess that's a question for tomorrow for Sandy Alomar or Stephen Kwon or Stephen Vogt. It's worth asking. It's not something I thought of in the moment either.
I didn't either. And again, I have really no problem with anything that Vogt did in this game. Was there anything in this game that you had a problem with, that you questioned?
No, honestly, if anything, Jason and I were sitting there shouting that they need to warm Cade Smith up long before he actually did.
Yeah.
I felt like Boyd bobbed and weaved a little bit there for a couple innings. And we were saying, like, go to him in the 3rd if you have to.
Yeah.
Go to him in the 4th. They waited till the 5th. It worked out, proved to be the right move.
On the broadcast, they were suggesting he stayed in for that last batter, Justin Henry Malloy, which obviously Big Christmas just made an amazing play on that. But that they left him in because otherwise, if they would have gone to Cade Smith, they would have brought in Kerry Carpenter. Now, I would argue the way Cade Smith's pitched, who cares if it's Kerry Carpenter? But still,
and that's the thing too. Is you're saying walk Kerry Carpenter. Were you saying that before the at bat? It's Emmanuel Clase.
Yeah, it's
you're supposed to have the advantage no matter who's at the plate.
I bet you every fan that sent me a tweet or a message in YouTube or the chat that said they should have walked Carpenter, I bet you every single one of them thought when that at bat started that Clase was going to get him out.
Right.
I know I did. I didn't think Kerry Carpenter was going to hit a home run. So what are you going to do? I didn't have a problem with it. I thought Boyd pitched very well. The pitching was great outside of Clase, which is, hard to believe. Cade Smith, parts of 3 innings, did a great job. Herron did a nice job getting out of that inning. Gaddis allowed 2 base. Well, no, really 1 because the second one was an intentional. They did intentional walk in that situation. But I've got no real beef. I mean, the guys, they couldn't hit. And Jason texted Mike and I when Kwon got the hit and Rocchio goes to 3rd. At first, I'm screaming at the TV, why didn't they send him? Why didn't they send him? And then you see the replay, and you're like, good throw. He's going to be out by a good deal. Jason was going nuts on text with Mike and I about that. But he's probably out
in person too.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they lose that game 3-0 and like Boyd gave up 2, and the bullpen gave up 1, then you're saying, all right, like that's what was supposed to happen. And there's not much to take away here. And I think because, again, like that would have been the knockout punch. And it felt like it was building toward a walk-off. And you only needed 1 run, the way Cleveland's bullpen goes. And it felt like they did everything right leading up to that. I mean, Skubal was incredible. And they couldn't touch him. They had a couple chances, couldn't break through. The Tigers had a couple chances against Boyd, couldn't break through. Yeah. And once you get into bullpen versus bullpen, you thought the Guardians would pull that out. And if the Guardians go up 2-0 in this series, like
it's over. Yeah.
Yeah. So just the huge swing in momentum for what it means for the landscape of this series. That's the big thing here. It's like now all of a sudden it's like, well, we just saw what this looks like when it's Skubal versus Boyd in Cleveland. You would get that again in Game 5. That's a lot of pressure on Cleveland now.
Yeah, it certainly is. I don't believe that they can't win a Game 5 at home if it comes down to that. But
I agree,
you don't want to be in that situation.
But this was your chance to, it was right there for you. And they swung and missed.
Yeah, unfortunately. Game 3, you'll have Alex Cobb. They interviewed him during the broadcast, and he seemed ready to go. It's risky, but, listen, let's face it. The Tigers... And Will Vest has pitched great for them, and he pitched in the 8th inning today. And Bo Brieske has pitched very well for them. But there's a lot. They'll face some hittable pitchers the next 2 days. Somebody was suggesting to me that they'd go to Skubal on Thursday. I'm like, they're not going to pitch him on 2 days rest.
No, because they need him in game 5. But you
Right.
could. I've always wondered why teams don't do this with them. We saw Milwaukee did it with Freddie Peralta.
Right.
In game 3 of the wild card series, where 2 days after you start, that's your bullpen day. So like Tanner Bybee threw a bullpen session today where it's basically like your tune-up for your next start.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always wondered, like in the playoffs, why not just make your bullpen session
right
in the game?
Right, but
there's a
Go
reason
ahead.
teams don't do that. One, you never know for sure how you're going to need to use the guy, if he'll actually get in the game. 2, it's a completely different environment. So there's like a lot of risks involved. But it is why you see in the playoffs, like I remember Randy Johnson started game 5 in 0-1 for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
And then came back and like closed game 7.
Yeah.
And
remember in game 7 of the World Series, John Lester pitched. He had started game 6. I can't remember now.
I think game 5.
Game 5, right.
And so
then he pitched like 3-4 innings.
It's your day to throw on the side anyway, so just do that. But if you commit to that with Skubal, you can't use him in game 5. And you'd rather have him in game 5 for 7 innings.
Right. And in the World Series, that might happen, but they're not going to do that. I'll be stunned beyond belief.
The Brewers did it with Peralta, and I think
he
threw
wasn't
one scoreless inning, maybe.
Right. Yeah, that's true. We'll see. I guess crazier things have happened than Skubal pitching on Thursday. At least part of the game.
It is interesting, though. I think that's one advantage Cleveland has is if you're Detroit, you got back-to-back days. And a lot of these pitchers on these bullpen days that they've had, they're throwing 2, 3, 4 innings. Probably not doing that back-to-back days. So they're going to have to figure out – they got to think of this like they have to piece together 18 innings. And the Guardians, I don't know. They don't know what Cobb's going to give them.
Yeah.
But you do have Tanner Bybee in game 4.
Yeah. I wonder if they'd use Cantillo in this game, in game 3, with some of these lefty hitters.
Browski hasn't pitched either. He's got good stuff.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. And the Tigers are going to just go bullpen games. I mean, that's pretty much what they do. We'll see a bunch of different guys jump in and out of there. And I would think in game 3 and 4, there's a chance that the Guardians hitters will never face the same pitcher twice in the same game, in those 2 games. Now they may face the same pitcher twice on 2 days, but not in the same game. I'll be surprised if any pitcher goes around the lineup more than one full time for Detroit.
And it makes me curious to see what the lineup will look like, because this lineup looks different against a lefty than it does against a righty.
Yeah.
Where does Kyle Manzardo get a start here? Does Will Brennan get a start here? Who's hitting second? Who's hitting fifth? A lot to figure out.
Did Stephen Kwan catch that ball?
I still don't know.
I saw the replay 15 times. I'm not 100% sure. I think he caught. I know Hammy was saying on the broadcast that he trapped it, and you really couldn't tell. You knew whatever they called was going to stand because you couldn't tell for sure. Even with all the cameras and the close-ups, people were doing screenshots as if they were proven one way or the other. You just couldn't tell. It was an amazing play because off the bat, I don't know about you at the field, but on TV off the bat, I was like, "There's no way." I thought it was a guaranteed hit.
I'm with you, and he has to make up his mind immediately.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can't hesitate there. And that's just why with that play, with the Noel throw from right field, which just what a cannon. It felt like it was just the script was going to unfold with
100%.
a walk-off or, a game-winning hit in their last at bat in the 8th inning. And it didn't play out that way. And it was teed up for them. Like it
was.
I feel like that's how you dream this up. You're not going to beat Skubal, and that's when he's starting. You're not going to win 7-0 like they did the other day. You're going to have to gut out a close, low-scoring game. The over/under on this game was 6 runs. That's absurdly low. You never see that in the regular season. And who would have bet the over on that?
No, nobody.
Right, unless Boyd gets shelled or something.
Yeah, right.
So you knew that was going to be how you had to win, and they they were there. They couldn't capitalize.
Until the moment Kerry Carpenter hit that home run, I thought from the I would say the third or fourth inning on, until the moment Carpenter hit that home run, I was completely convinced the Guardians were going to win the game. I had no doubts from the third inning until that home run. Even as Clase was clearly struggling and not his usual self. He gives up hits to 8-9 hitters. I'm like, he's a little off. But I'm like, he's going to figure it out. He's going to. And then the first two sliders to Carpenter were good pitches. I mean, and then he just left that one right in the middle of the plate, that third one.
It's something about baseball, too. I mean, you had Boyd versus Skubal, teammates with the Tigers.
Yep.
Mentor versus mentee. And now they're facing each other in the playoffs. No one would have thought that. Boyd signed with Cleveland, 3.5 months ago? So just incredible fate that they get matched up. And then you got Skubal. And then here comes Clase. And we've been talking about the two of them in the Cy Young race all year.
Yeah.
And Skubal stands tall. And Clase had never given up a 3-run homer before. Clase gave up 5 runs all year, gives up 3 on 1 pitch. It's just, that's baseball.
Somebody said it's the curse of Clase's new neck tattoo. Is that tattoo new? I thought he's had that for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. He's had a bunch. He's got tattoos behind the ear too.
Yeah. I don't think he's getting any curses for getting a tattoo. All right. Anything in the clubhouse? Any news, notes, comments, thoughts? Like, how bad was it in there? Were they? It was fine.
I mean, it's you could walk into a clubhouse of a team that loses 6-3 on a Tuesday in May, and it's going to be quiet. That's just the way.
Sure.
That's sports. After a win, a team is blasting music and they're playing cards, and everyone's in a good mood and they've got a beer in their hand. And after a loss, it's like a library.
Yeah.
And they also had to go board a flight to Detroit. So,
I was going to ask you if they fly or drive to Detroit, but they're professional athletes. So.
37-minute flight tonight. So they'll get in, they'll work out tomorrow, I think at 1:00.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, you have all these day games. So they'll play at 3 Wednesday. So you're trying to keep on that rhythm, so they'll work out tomorrow as if at the same time that they'll work out before the game on Wednesday.
The Royals, by the way, are beating the Yankees 4-1 in the bottom of the 6th. Royals put up a 4 spot in the 4th inning. Salvador Perez hit a home run in that one. Cole Reagans, they pulled him after 4 innings. He had given up 3 hits, 4 walks, but only 1 run. So we'll see if the bullpen holds on. I know the Thursday game, if the Yankees-Royals are still playing, the Thursday game's at 6. And if they're not playing, it's at 8. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So it looks like it'll probably be a 6 o'clock. I shouldn't say that. The Yankees could certainly come back. But if the Royals win today, there will be a game 4 in that series as well. And so the Guardians will play at 6 o'clock, which would be their latest start. But,
it's interesting, too. The Tigers haven't been home, right? I don't know. I'm trying to look the end of their. Okay, so they were home the last week of the season against Tampa and Chicago. But they go to Houston and, fans are like, well, we hope we see you again. And here they come now, 1-1.
Right.
I would assume that place would be pretty jazzed. I will say it sounded like there were more Tigers fans here today than there were Saturday.
Well, part of that is they were having success, so they were louder probably.
That's true. But even there were certain plays where I had to look up and be like, did I just see what I thought I saw? Because I heard cheering and
I reacted the same way on TV, watching the TV.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see how Cleveland fans always travel well. It's like one of the an underrated storyline. Just I see Guardians fans on every single road trip.
Yeah.
And especially Detroit. So we'll see how they turn up there. But it's now the Tigers fans are guaranteed 2 home games. Probably didn't expect that.
Yes, they are. And, I thought game 1 obviously was very important. Now game 3 becomes certainly very important. It feels like there's a good chance the game 3 winner will win the series. That's often the case.
And the Guardians are trusting a guy who's made 3 starts this season, hasn't
Yeah.
pitched since September 1st, and hasn't pitched in the playoffs since 11 years ago today.
Right. Against the Guardians.
Today's Alex Cobb's 37th birthday.
Yep.
And his last playoff start came on his 26th birthday. Actually, he beat Cleveland in that wild card game, pitched 5 days later.
Oh, okay.
Against the Red Sox, and that's it.
That's it.
And, he was on some Rays teams he thought were going to make the playoffs and didn't.
Yeah.
Some Giants teams he thought were going to make the playoffs and didn't. He went to Baltimore. He went to the Angels. It's been a long road back to this point. And he didn't know what was going to happen with all the injuries he's had this year.
The wild card game he won was against Danny Salazar, right? Didn't Danny Salazar pitch for the Guardians?
Yeah, 2013. And Salazar was hitting 100 miles an hour. I remember fans had like red towels. They were twirling, and the place was electric. And then I think it was Delman Young hit a home run, got quiet. Cleveland never scored.
Out.
And that was that.
I was the first, believe it or not, that was the first playoff game that I ever went to in my life.
Oh, you're never.
Yeah, right. It's not like they'd gone to the playoffs all that many times. And, when I was a kid, we didn't go to, I went to the Mets or Yankees sometimes, but we couldn't afford playoff tickets. And so it was a great atmosphere that night. I remember that night. But anyway, all right. So now they got to bounce back. Hopefully Cobb will pitch well. We're going to wrap it up. We appreciate everybody joining us today. Zach's got an early morning drive to Detroit. And then Zach and I will be back with you after Wednesday's game 3, which again starts at 3:00 or 3:08, I guess, technically. So we'll probably be on sometime at 9:00 or 8:30 or whatever. We'll let you know the time, but we'll be back for the latest Ultimate Cleveland Guardian show again Wednesday. And then after Thursday's game, we'll be on as well. Zach, good stuff. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I know fans are frustrated. I don't have anything to say to fix that, but it's not supposed to be easy, right?
No,
it's not.
Baseball's tough.
Yeah. I keep going back to 2016 in my head because that was like the template.
Sure.
And they did make it look easy that year. They swept the Red Sox. They beat Toronto in 5. Obviously the World Series was different, but they were up 3-1 in that series too. So it's almost
easy through game 4 of the World Series. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were up 2-0 on the Yankees the next year. And it was, they haven't had a lot of these series where it's like back and forth and
right.
Maybe this one will be like that.
We'll find out. I mean, we'll see what this team is made of. Baseball is the most unpredictable. Hockey's unpredictable too, but we don't ever talk about hockey. But of the 3 sports we mostly cover here, baseball, football, basketball, by far the most unpredictable is baseball. You never know. We said when the playoffs started, I picked the Guardians to win the World Series. I still believe in this team 100%. One loss is not going to change my mind. But I also said if they lost in this first round, you couldn't be shocked because that's baseball.
Also, if the Royals hang on, all 4 division series are tied 1-1.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's true. So everybody's in the same boat. All these big teams, again, the Yankees have still got a long way to go, but the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Phillies, these big time teams, the Dodgers and Phillies have already lost their home field advantage along with the Guardians, and so have the Yankees, or if they don't win. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for sending all the messages, being with us. Chad, thank you for thanking us for being on late. We appreciate that. And like I said, we'll be back on again after Wednesday's game and after Thursday's game. We'll talk to you all next time. Where else but right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show.